Hey friends, welcome back to the Lifestyle School podcast. Today we're talking about something every single one of us has struggled with at some point, and that is hunger that feels out of control. Hunger that feels bigger than our willpower, hunger that feels louder than our goals, and hunger that makes you wonder, why can't I get this under control? If that's been you, I want you to just take a breath. Let's do it together. Right? You're not broken, guys. Your biology isn't defective. You are living in a world that confuses, overwhelms, and misfires every natural hunger signal in our body that it is supposed to rely on. And the truth is, most people don't have a hunger problem. They have a hunger signal problem. And so um, your hunger signals have been shaped by the food environment, by our stress, sleep deprivation, hormone disruption, blood sugar variability, and years of eating patterns your body was never designed for. So, today, what we're going to do is we're going to rebuild your understanding of hunger from the ground up. And we're going to talk about what hunger actually is in your body, why it becomes dysregulated, and the 5 levers that restore normal appetite control. Okay. My goal is that by the end of this episode, hunger will feel a lot less mysterious and a lot more manageable for you, and that you're going to walk away knowing exactly what's happening inside your body and what to do next. So, let's start where everything begins, and that's understanding the different kinds of hunger. But before we get into the episode, as always, a quick reminder, guys, I am not a medical doctor. This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. Always consult with your qualified healthcare professional before making any major changes to your diet or lifestyle if necessary. And I do have one exciting announcement before we get into the podcast. Before we jump back in, I want to let you know that my online supplement store is officially open. If you've been wanting high quality supplements you can actually trust, this is where to get them. Every product in my store is third-party tested for quality and purity, which is not something that you're guaranteed when you're buying supplements from Amazon or grabbing whatever it is off the shelf at your local grocery store or health food store. These are the same professional grade products that I use and I recommend to my clients, and it's an easy way to support me and the Lifestyle School podcast. So if you want, I would love it if you'd create your account using a code. That code is 104567. Once again, you'll need a code to make an account. Not just anybody can, but your listener, so you get the code. It's 104567. When you head over to my website, www.hopepotcoaching.com, you'll see store, shop up there in the top right corner. And you click that, you find the supplements that you need, you put in your code to create your account. And, if you want to know exactly where to start when it comes to supplements, if you're like, I've been thinking I need to add these into my routine, go listen to episode 43 of the Lifestyle School podcast, where I walk you through the core 4 supplement recommendations that I suggest and why they matter for metabolic health. Okay, guys, with that, let's dive into today's episode. So first, let's get one core truth on the table as we get started, okay? Not all hunger is real hunger. Our body experiences 2 forms. We have true physiological hunger. And so this type of hunger, to kind of help you understand it a little bit better, is gradual, right? It's like slowly builds over time. It's physical, right? Not emotional. It's steady, it's patient, and it's flexible. So if you're truly hungry, you could eat a wide variety of foods and feel satisfied. Maybe you feel a little emptiness in your stomach, maybe a soft wave of energy dipping. This is your body saying, hey, we're running low on fuel. Whenever you're ready, I could use some energy, right? It's not crazy. It's calm, it's rational, it's grounded. And then we have dysregulated hunger, and this is going to show up a little bit differently. And I'm sure we've all been there, but this type of hunger is like urgent. We have to eat immediately. It feels emotional. It's sudden, it's demanding, and it's very specific a lot of the times. You don't want food. You want chips. You want chocolate. You want granola bars. You want something crunchy, something sweet. and you want it right now, right? We've all been there for sure. I think any woman who is menstruating has definitely been there. This hunger is driven by a number of things, driven by blood sugar crashes, stress hormones, habit loops, maybe boredom, or reward seeking behavior, right? Or even just like female hormones that cycle. It's not your body asking for fuel, it's your body asking for relief. And there is a really big difference with that. So here's why this distinction really matters. When you lump both kinds of hunger together, you're going to feel like you should eat every time you sense hunger. And that's what creates the cycle of overeating and frustration for many people. When you learn to differentiate these two signals, you finally get to respond instead of react. And dysregulated hunger quiets dramatically once you address the root causes of it, right? True hunger becomes easier to honor and meals become more satisfying and food stops being such a constant mental chatter. And that's where we all want to get. I think if you've ever dealt with constant hunger, uh, wouldn't it be such a relief? This is something that I've personally dealt with a lot. And it's been such a beautiful process for myself to realize, like, oh, I don't have to feel hungry all the time. I don't have to have food anxiety or the food noise. That's a big thing I think people talk about a lot of time when they talk about using like a GLP-1, something like Ozempic or Wegovy, is how it quiets the food noise. But this is something that you can actually do naturally, right? Is get your hunger under control, turn down that food noise so that you can just make better decisions and it doesn't require so much willpower. So now I want to transition. Let's talk hormones because hunger is hormone driven. Okay. Your appetite is regulated primarily by two key hormones. Ghrelin is the hunger starter. The way I help myself remember ghrelin is the hunger hormone is you think ghrelin, the G, grumpy or grumbling stomach. When you're hungry, your stomach growls. And so ghrelin means it's connected to when we're hungry, right? And then we have leptin, which is our fullness, or like our signal for fullness. Okay, so think of ghrelin as your hunger wave generator, right? Our just like other hormones in our body, our hunger comes and goes in waves. In a healthy system, ghrelin rises before a meal and then it decreases after you eat, right? And it has a natural rhythm, almost like tides coming in and out throughout the day. But modern life breaks this rhythm quite dramatically. Snacking, late night eating, eating constantly from morning to night, eating things like ultra processed foods, all of these things keep ghrelin pulses irregular. And instead of having gentle waves of hunger, you get towering spikes that feel like huge hunger attacks, right? And then with leptin is meant to tell your brain, we have enough energy, we're fed, we can stop eating. But when your diet is high in things like refined carbohydrates, ultra processed food, low in protein, low in nutrients, or high in inflammatory foods, leptin can't communicate clearly, and your brain literally doesn't get the message that you're full. How horrible is that, right? Even when you've eaten enough. So you can eat enough food, enough, calories, but your brain's not going to get that signal that you're full. And this is why people feel like they never reach satisfaction. And it's, this isn't emotional. This is not like a mental thing. This is a hormonal miscommunication that's happening. And so what restores hunger hormones? What are the things that you need to focus on to, bring this back into alignment? Well, we got to eat real food, right? And that's why anytime I talk about like, what should you be eating? You should be eating real food that's as minimally processed as possible, because ultra processed food hijacks our hormone signals. Like it's literally made in a lab to turn off your fullness signals and to turn up your hunger signals. I'm sure you've like experienced this where you sit down with like a bag of Lay's chips and like you could just sit there and eat the whole bag and not really think about it and not realize not feel hungry at all, even though you've just consumed 1,000+ calories, right? But if you sit down to eat a steak, different story, or like 6 eggs, you can't just like continuously keep eating eggs because you're like, oh, I'm full. Same thing with bacon, right? You can't, well, I did know one person who could sit down and eat a whole package of bacon, but that's a rare case, guys. But you can't just like eat it ad nauseum. Like you're like, oh, I'm full. I need to be done, right? So we got to eat real food to restore our hunger hormones. We have to eat enough protein because protein is really good. It has hormones, specific hormones or molecules in it that help us feel satiated. Same with fat. And that's why you just can't like, eat all the bacon or all the steak because you get full, you feel full, right? And then you have to give your digestive system breaks through fasting. So whether that's just fasting for hours between meals or doing something a little bit more extended, that is going to help reset our hunger hormones and allow those gentle waves, that rhythm, to become regulated again. Consistently getting good sleep on the same schedule is also super important for our hunger hormones. I'm sure you've experienced this where you have a bad night of sleep and you're way hungrier the next day. That's not on accident. If you get poor sleep, you're going to increase your hunger hormones, your ghrelin, that's making you feel hungry. You're going to decrease your leptin, which is making you feel full, and you're going to crave more carbs. There's research to support that. I think they say it's like people on average after poor night's sleep eat like 300 more calories because of their increased hunger, mainly from carbohydrate sources. So usually not good food. And then we got to stabilize our blood sugar, right? Because everything comes back to blood sugar. And what these things are going to do is they're going to bring both ghrelin and leptin back into rhythm, and they're going to make hunger predictable instead of feeling really chaotic. Because if you're constantly dealing with like chaotic hunger signals, it is going to make the process of trying to lose weight and be healthy feel really, really difficult. It's going to require so much willpower, which we know is not reliable. You're going to be white knuckling it day after day, and eventually you're just going to give up because it's hard. And we don't typically do things that are really hard over and over and over, day after day after day, for 10 years, right? Why would we choose to do things hard? We want to do things that feel easy and that are aligned with our body. So this is what I mean when I talk about, like, we want to work with your body instead of against it to help you lose weight. We got to get our hunger hormones back in rhythm so that weight loss can feel easy. And it's amazing the difference people experience when we do that. They're like, oh, this isn't that big of a deal, right? To do these habits and to eat these good foods because we're not white knuckling it through crazy hunger all the time. So continuing on, if you've ever wondered why you're hungry an hour after eating, I want to tell you it's likely blood sugar related. Blood sugar is probably the culprit because here's what happens. When you eat a high carb or a high sugar meal, your blood sugar spikes super quickly. And so if we want to get our hunger under control, we have to get off of the blood sugar roller coaster, which we talk about all the time here on the Lifestyle School podcast. But when we eat a high carb meal or high sugar meal, our blood sugar spikes up really quickly. And then what happens is insulin rises to bring it down. Our pancreas is like, bunch of insulin. We got to help grab these sugar molecules, pull them out of our bloodstream, pull them into our liver, our muscles, or our fat cells, because a bunch of sugar hanging out in our bloodstream is going to cause a lot of oxidative stress and inflammation in our vessels. And so we don't want that. But a lot of times, if you've really shot up your blood sugar, insulin can overshoot itself, right? And then our blood sugar drops too low. And that's where the roller coaster effects comes. Our blood sugar is going too high, higher than it should. But then it comes, instead of coming like back to a nice, healthy level of blood sugar, it goes really low because of all the insulin grabbing then too much out of our bloodstream and pulling it out. And then our brain senses danger. Sudden low blood sugar feels like an emergency, right? If you heard me talking last week about reactive hypoglycemia, you feel shaky, you feel really off. And sometimes you're like not even aware of it. It can show up as like just feeling anxiety or weirdness in your mood. And your blood sugar gets really low. And then um, you get urgent hunger. And here's the important part. This hunger isn't because you need fuel, it's because your brain is trying to bring your blood sugar back up fast, right? Your brain doesn't ask for chicken or eggs in this scenario. It's asking for fast sugar. So that's going to look like, that candy bar that you really want, or dried fruit, or this or that. And that's why cravings appear kind of out of nowhere. So a lot of times, when we're dealing with constant hunger, it's tied back to the blood sugar roller coaster. So some real life examples of this would be, you have like a healthy smoothie. I say quote unquote, a healthy smoothie in the morning loaded with fruit, and your blood sugar spikes. Or you have something like oatmeal with honey, blood sugar spikes. Or maybe you have a sandwich with chips at lunch. Again, blood sugar spike. And then 3 p.m. comes and you crash, right? And that leaves you feeling foggy, maybe irritable, and then probably craving sugar, right? Because your blood sugar is hitting the floor. And then once you stabilize blood sugar, instead of like going on this super high, super low blood sugar, your hunger becomes more of like a whisper instead of a scream. Like when your blood sugar is hitting the floor, your body's like, sugar, like I need to eat right now. And this is something that I used to constantly live with, versus now when, it's like mealtime, it's like, yeah, okay, I could eat. It's not anything urgent. And so we have to get our blood sugar under control if we want to stabilize our hunger. Got to get off that blood sugar roller coaster. And then the next one, when talking about getting our hunger under control, is looking at the emotional hunger, stress, cortisol connection here. So stress changes our hunger dramatically and quickly. Okay. So what happens is when cortisol rises, your body shifts into like a get quick fuel mode. And cortisol makes you crave foods that provide fast energy. So think sugar, refined carbs, or salty snacks. Okay. And, this isn't emotional weakness. It's your body doing exactly what it's designed to do under stress. Okay. So some cues, common patterns, if like cortisol, if stress is part of this, you're not hungry all day while stressed, but you're ravenous at night, right? Maybe you crave carbs when you're overwhelmed. Maybe you want to eat while you're trying to relax, or you don't feel hungry until you finally sit down. These can all be cues that maybe there's a cortisol stress connection there. And, this happens because your nervous system is finally shifting out of high alert, and your body seeks comfort and quick fuel after that happens. So one powerful question to ask is, when you feel hunger come on suddenly, ask yourself, is this hunger, or am I trying to soothe something? Right? This single question kind of creates a moment of separation, enough to shift from reaction to intention, which is a really important part of this process. Because as cortisol comes down through practices like walking or deep breathing, consistent sleep, what happens is the nervous system regulates, and like emotional stress related hunger declines dramatically. And that is a big issue for a lot of people, because a lot of us are walking around super stressed. And maybe we don't realize how that is affecting our food choices and our hunger. And so the next, rock to look under when it comes to getting our appetite under control is the role that processed foods play in them. This is a big one, because ultra processed foods don't just fail to satisfy you, they are literally engineered to not satisfy you. Like they can't satisfy you because they're engineered to be hyper palatable. They digest really rapidly. They avoid triggering fullness signals, and they produce strong dopamine responses. Like our brain lights up and feels super happy and rewarded when we eat them. They bypass the natural stretch receptors in our stomach and they interfere with leptin communication, our satiety signal. And your brain is waiting for a signal that literally never comes. Okay. So that's why, like I said earlier, you can eat an entire bag of chips without feeling full. You can finish a sleeve of crackers or Oreos and still want more. And you can eat those processed snacks and feel hungrier afterward, which, makes no sense, right? Because your appetite system is operating exactly as expected in the presence of food it was never meant to process. So when you remove these foods and switch to whole, nutrient-dense foods that are minimally processed, your satiety returns, often shockingly fast, right? And people are stunned when they realize how much calmer food feels when they're not fighting engineered hunger triggers. Okay. And so, I don't expect people to eat perfect when they, start working with me or doing lifestyle school or start, working on their metabolic health. But I think it's really good to just be mindful of like, how do you feel? Like if you find yourself, eating this ultra processed food, how do you feel during it? How do you feel after? And start collecting that data because it's super important to realize those things. And then I think for most people, once you kind of start to put two and two together, you're like, there's like really no place in this, like in my health journey for processed foods, ultra processed foods, especially because they just don't serve me, right? I don't feel good. I don't feel full. I don't feel satisfied. And I just want more and more and more. And it becomes this like really horrible cycle. Um, so now I want to talk about what actually works to bring hunger back into alignment, and kind of talk about some 5 levers to take back control. And we've kind of touched on these throughout, talking about some of the different things that pull hunger out of alignment, right? But let's just get into these 5 levers. So number 1 is you got to stabilize your blood sugar. A super important, fastest way to calm hunger. When your blood sugar is steady, your hunger becomes a lot more logical instead of like desperate. Okay. So practically what this looks like is focusing on, oh, excuse me, that's a big yawn. Did not get my nap today. My pregnancy nap. But so focus on, practically speaking, 25 to 35 grams of protein per meal, healthy fats, fiber-rich foods if your body tolerates fiber well, and then adding carbs based on your activity level. Some people, they don't need any carbs. Other people need some carbs. It really depends on you. And so being mindful of that when it comes to carbs. Okay. Stabilizing blood sugar often reduces hunger within 24 to 48 hours. Like you can start to feel a lot better by jumping off that blood sugar roller coaster. And it can usually happen really quick. The second lever is eating real food 80 to 90% of the time. We kind of talked about this, but real food has built-in structure, nutrients, and volume, and it triggers our satiety hormones. It slows down our digestion and it aligns with our biology, what our biology expects to be fed. Okay. And so when people switch from processed foods to whole foods, they instantly realize how much less they need to feel satisfied, how much less food. And it becomes easy again, right? It's like swapping out a bag of chips for a steak. And the third lever is using fasting intentionally. So fasting reduces the noise around hunger. Not maybe the first fast you do, but as you build that fasting muscle, it definitely reduces the noise around hunger. Ghrelin begins to develop a rhythm again, your cravings quiet, and your body learns that hunger waves rise and fall. And that's okay, right? It's one of the most powerful tools for recalibrating appetite signals. And that's why I think if you really deal with hunger, it seems a little antithetical, but fasting is a really, really powerful tool that is going to be a game changer for you. I can tell from my own personal experience as well as working with many, many clients. The fourth lever is regulate your stress daily, right? It's a dysregulator. You got to regulate it to get things back under control. Small practices repeated consistently can make a really big impact when we're talking about regulating stress, right? Deep breathing, light movement, having wind down routines at night, getting sunlight first thing in the morning in your eyes, taking short breaks throughout the day to reconnect with ourselves. And I would say when it comes to stress, like looking at our life and figuring out where can we make more space to like focus on our health, right? I always say you can't add on like these healthy habits to try to like change your life. You got to make room and like make new space. And what that usually means is cutting out things, right? And that's hard, but you can only say yes to so many things. And if your goal is to say yes to your health in 2026, you got to say probably no to something that you've already been doing, to make room for saying yes to your health. And, when cortisol comes down, cravings are going to drop and it's going to make this process so much easier. And then the fifth lever, and you guys are going to laugh because we talk about it pretty much every episode, is you got to commit to consistent sleep, guys. One night of poor sleep raises ghrelin and increases cravings by up to 30%. And a rested brain has better impulse control, better blood sugar regulation, and more stability. And, sleep is one of those most overlooked hunger tools that we have. And so we got to take advantage of it. We got to go to bed at the same time. We got to wake up at the same time, hopefully getting to bed before 10 p.m. I did a whole episode on sleep you should check out if you're feeling like this is one of the levers that you haven't been pulling, that you need some motivation and guidance on. So kind of going back to what normal hunger should feel like, we kind of outlined this at the beginning of the episode, but I want to touch on it again. Okay. So this is what a healthy hunger looks like. It comes in waves. It's calm, it's patient, it's predictable, right? And you can delay it if needed. It's not like this urgent, I have to eat this moment. It's like, oh, like I'm a little busy. I can, wait another 30 minutes to an hour. It's not like I have to eat this moment, right? It's satisfied after eating. That's a big one. Normal hunger is satisfied after you eat. You're not thinking about food all day. You're not chasing energy from meal to meal. You're not panicking over hunger spikes. This is what healthy metabolic hunger feels like. And just having good metabolic health feels like in real time. Okay. And so to kind of put a bow on it, what can you do this week to start working on your hunger signals? You know, try to aim for 25 to 35 grams of protein per meal. That looks like about 4 ounces of meat, for chicken, beef, pork. Each ounce has about 7 to 9 grams of protein in it. So roughly 4 ounces is going to get you about there for enough protein per meal. No snacking, right? Try to go no snacking for 48 hours. You just eat at mealtime. See how you feel. I bet you'll notice a difference in your hunger cues. Having electrolytes first thing in the morning, having salt right away in the morning is going to help. Do one 16-hour fast. See how you feel. Something else you could try is if you're doing a lot of processed foods right now, do one whole food meal swap where typically you would eat something that was ultra processed. Do whole foods, see how you feel after, see if you feel different, if you feel more satisfied. Or, even doing something like a 10-minute post-dinner walk is also going to really help with that blood sugar stabilization piece. And so these are simple steps that you can use to move hunger back towards balance really quickly. If you could do all of these things, that would be awesome. You would be amazed by the progress that you can make, and how quickly that progress will come. Because, hunger isn't a character flaw. I used to feel like it was a character flaw for myself. You're not fighting yourself. You're fighting, a food environment and a lifestyle mismatch that dysregulates our hunger in nearly every single person. This is an issue many, many people deal with. And when you understand your hunger, you can kind of reclaim authority over your choices, right? And if you want to go deeper and have more support when it comes to getting your hunger control, getting on a path towards achieving the health and the weight that you want here in 2026, Lifestyle School for Weight Loss is where we rebuild hunger cues. We work on stabilizing blood sugar. We work with fasting. and design a lifestyle that supports lasting weight loss. Lifestyle School for Weight Loss is my course. It's an 8-week course that I created with a lot of time and a lot of sweat and tears. And you can find the link to learn more about that at my website, www.hopeplatcoaching.com. If you don't put the W's in there, my website won't come up. I have to figure out that technicality issue. And if you wanted personalized coaching as well, if you want to work with me one-on-one, I do have a limited number of spots available to do that. It is required that you do the course, the Lifestyle School for Weight Loss course, in conjunction with it, because the course lays, a foundation of education so that we're on the same page when we're doing our check-ins. It just makes me be able to focus on you and your unique needs versus answering questions that, I could teach you in the course. So I do offer my 8 weeks personalized coaching program with Lifestyle School where, we can view your specific unique scenario, because truly every single person is different and unique. And we want to honor, what getting healthy is going to look like for you. So I want to just really encourage you is that you can take control of your hunger. It doesn't have to be this huge stumbling block for you on your health journey. You don't have to feel like you're white knuckling it through hunger to lose weight. You can feel at peace with food, and you can absolutely build a lifestyle where hunger feels like a tool and not a threat. Okay. So if this resonates with you guys, let me know what stood out to you in the comments. As always, if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast, leave a review. I'd love to hear from you guys. And if you could share it with a friend, I would be so blessed and feel so honored. With that, we'll see you next week on the Lifestyle School podcast.